The 10 enemies of piercings, either before or after it heals. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 131, so you might want to stick around. For those who are new to the channel, first off, welcome to the channel. Hope you're finding the videos informative and enjoyable, but you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and I operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. What we're going to talk about today is 10, count them, 10. There's 10 fingers. Things that you should avoid or enemies of piercing, some of the top 10 things that I see that people do or encounter that cause issues with healing a piercing or even after healing a piercing. Number 1, loofahs. Loofahs are the enemy of everything that is sacred in piercing. They tend to be these sponge-like things that you bring into your house to use the body wash. They start out about the size of a softball or, I guess, a cricket ball maybe, for those that are not in the U.S., and then eventually expands into the size of a large watermelon. They also harbor a lot of bacteria. The older they are, the more gross they get. And they tend to have these little tentacles that like to stick on shiny objects that protrude from the skin, like piercings. I don't know how many times I've had a client that's gone through the whole healing process, everything's going perfectly fine, and then they catch it on one of these, and next thing you know, they have problems. Number 2, sleeping on the piercing. If anybody watches this channel at any length, you already know that I evidently have told people over and over again, do not sleep on the piercing. Sleeping on the piercing during the healing process can cause a number of issues because it causes trauma. The same thing with after the piercing is healed. You don't really realize a lot of times how much you move around your sleep and how much pressure you're putting on that piercing. And if you're a sound enough sleeper, the pain that you're causing with that trauma may not even wake you up enough to realize you're doing it. It's important to isolate piercings during the healing process, but even after the healing is done, some piercings, they just don't like that constant knocking around. And this could lead to migration, rejection, bumps, all kinds of fun stuff, excess scarring, etc. You really need to figure out a way to keep yourself from sleeping on a piercing. Of course, there's the old trick with ear piercings, which is the U-shaped travel pillow, sworn by thousands of piercers and piercees like thousands upon thousands. These U-shaped pillows are nice because you can put a clean sock on them and every night, keep it clean, and you can also use it to make sure that the piercing has no contact. Other options are for like torso piercings and other facial piercings is try sleeping with a large body pillow or a pillow between your legs, cuddle up to it, and that tends to keep you from rolling over onto the piercing. Number 3, cheap jewelry. Well, I've heard this story a million times. You get the piercing done, you heal it out, it looks beautiful, but you have that really basic jewelry in there, or it's really long. So you go back to the piercing studio, you look at the case, you pick out that one piece, and it's a lot more than you were expecting to spend. So you go, let me think about it. You leave. You do one of two things. You either get on your phone and look up body piercing jewelry and find the first site that you come across, or you go to your local retail outlet and find and look for something similar. Yes, this stuff might look like it's the same in the packaging and everything else. The reality is usually they are made of substandard materials. Yes, you're getting a wonderful deal. You're getting maybe 5 pieces for what you would have paid for just one at the piercing studio. The problem is you have no idea what that jewelry is actually made out of. The finish may not be the best. The ends are usually externally threaded or, on the rare occasion, possibly internally threaded, but the majority of it is externally threaded. This is going to damage the piercing. You never know what you're getting quality-wise. So sometimes they just simply fall apart. The reason for all this is because it's a lot cheaper to mass produce this stuff, so there's not as much attention given to things like finish and making sure the ends are properly rounded and etc. And putting that fresh piece of pierce or that new piece of jewelry in a fresh piercing that's just healed can cause it to be dislodged. It can cause damage. Things like switching to hoops from studs where the jewelry wants to turn inward. It can completely rip the piercing open, and you're starting the healing process all over again, with the added enjoyment of a possible infection, because I doubt the jewelry that you got from wherever you got it from is actually sterile and comes in a sterile package. Yeah, it might be a sealed plastic baggy thing, but the reality is it basically anything the last person who handled it touched is now fully contaminated that jewelry before they put it in that bag. Number 4, makeup. This usually affects mostly piercings on the front of the ear and any facial piercings that you have. Noses, nostrils, septum, lip piercings, labrae piercings, beauty marks, Monroes, Madonnas, Medusas, eyebrows, anything that's on your face. Especially powder-based makeups or foundation makeups. If you put them on there and you cake all that on there, it tends to get into the piercing, and this could lead to a condition called glandular cysts. This will require medical attention. The other possibility is it just agitates the piercing to the point where it produces scar tissue or does not want to heal properly. Keep the makeup away from the piercing until it is healed. Number 5, antibacterial soaps in strong antiseptics like bactine. Yes, there was a period of time, if you go way back in the history of YouTube and go back into some of our older videos, where I did suggest using antibacterial soap on a regular basis. However, I did additional research and changed my mind on the whole subject. There is no reason to use any of this stuff. The thinking that originally this comes from is that the average person is not used to having an open wound on their body for a long period of time, that they're probably going to contaminate it throughout the day multiple times, so you need to have something there to kill any foreign pathogen that may have entered the wound or may have gotten around the wound. Problem with this is in most cases, unless it's a direct contact and it's prolonged, chances are is your own immune system can fight off whatever it is. Now, the other problem with it is part of your immune system is the microorganisms that colonize your skin. When you use an antibacterial or antiseptic, it kills off even the good microorganisms, creating a vacuum which could cause you to be at a higher risk of infection for that reason. I always like to put this in here. When should I possibly use that? Well, if you have a situation where you definitely know 100% that you've contaminated the area. For example, if you have a particular piercing in a part of your body that your partner likes to handle or orally or with their hands, and they did it a lot during a fun time period, chances are you've contaminated the wound and you could possibly get an infection. Your best option is to just clean the area with a mild antibacterial liquid soap, rinse well. This doesn't mean that you should let them do that every day or multiple times a day and just clean it, because you're going to create all the problems that are associated with using these antiseptics. The other thing with this stuff is it tends to prolong the healing period, and it dries out the tissue, which can cause other problems. Number 6, tea tree oil. Yes, I know it's the internet's favorite product, the home remedy to end all home remedies. Usually it involves bumps. Now, bumps are caused by improper jewelry, improper piercing placement or angle, abuse or trauma to the piercing, or improper sizing. Until you eliminate that cause, those bumps, that scarring, will keep coming back. Basically, what your body is doing is it's trying to protect itself. The same way, if your shoes were not properly fitted and you wore them for like a 5-mile hike, you come home and you have all these blisters and calluses and etc. It does the same thing with piercings. So, until you eliminate the cause of that problem, those bumps will just keep coming back. What tea tree oil tends to do is it tends to kind of burn off those bumps. So yes, it looks great for a day or two, but the reality is that it'll probably come back, and oftentimes it comes back bigger. The key to getting rid of bumps is to change what is causing it. Get rid of the problem, and eventually your body will heal the piercing. There are some people that just for one reason or another, your body decides it needs to do this. And with that, sometimes by the time you hit the healing or finish the healing, it'll start to go away, or removing the jewelry is about your only recourse. Now, because I keep coming across these concoctions that piercers make that has tea tree oil in it, along with a little bit of salt and various other herbs and spices, I don't suggest using. The only thing you need to use on a healing piercing is a sterile, I repeat, sterile saline solution. Medical grade should be nothing in there but sodium and water. And it should come in a can so that it is kept sterile. Number 7. I did a whole video on this one. Q-tips. Q-tips, your fingernails, anything else that may be used to clean off piercings. This obsessiveness of getting rid of discharge tends to lead to a whole lot of problems. Yes, it looks kind of gross. Yes, it's kind of icky. Leave it alone over time between the saline rinses and rinsing in the shower. All of that discharge will eventually melt away and go away. Obsessively going in there with Q-tips and other things and picking at it and getting rid of it will cause issues. Number 8, spinning, rotating, and playing with the jewelry. I know. We tend to, as humans, we monitor how something feels by touching it. It's kind of like that obsessive thing we do when we have a sore in our mouth and are constantly touching it with our tongue. This does not make it heal faster. In fact, this generally makes it take longer to heal. We tend to do this with anything that's to do on our body. It's obsessive. It's different. We have to do it. But this constant movement, touching, etc., increases the likelihood of contaminating the piercing and leading to an infection, or actually causing trauma that leads to scarring and other problems, including prolonged healing. Spinning, it tends to dislodge skin growth and tends to prolong healing and cause that trauma and scarring and etc. Leave the piercing alone. It is the forbidden zone. Stay away from it. If you're really concerned about like an ear piercing that you can't see, ask a friend to take a look at it on a regular basis. Or take a video of it with your camera, with your phone, camera, whatever, or take a photo. Do not constantly touch it to monitor how it's doing. Number 9, swimming. Now, this is one of those ones where there's a lot of different thoughts on it. I know your mom told you when you had that skinned up knee in 5th grade that getting in the pool was good for it. No, it isn't. The reality is any body of water other than your own clean and well-maintained bathtub with fresh potable water is going to have tons of microorganisms in it, including swimming pools. No matter how much you smell the chemicals, it doesn't necessarily mean, or how clean the water looks, does not mean that it is not full of microorganisms that if they get their way into the piercing could cause an infection. The other problem is how these chemicals affect a healing wound. It can agitate it. It can lead to scarring. It can lead to all kinds of problems. Your best bet is always to avoid swimming, hot tubs, etc. until the piercing is completely healed. Period. Before we move on to the last one, number 10, if you like this, give me a thumbs up and share it with other people. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we post something. And if you like merch, check out our merch store. And if you have something to add, put one of them comments down below. And the final, number 10, self-piercing. Yes, you've seen it on the internet. Yes, it's great. It's wonderful. It's a cheap way of doing this and that. No problem with it. I healed it out, blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem. Yes, there was a time period in my life where I pierced my ears. You know why I pierced my ears? Because there wasn't another option. Because there was not piercing studios. It was the 1980s, and I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. Access to things like sterile needles, forceps, all this stuff, and more importantly, the information that has been developed with body piercing wasn't available. Generally, when I talk to people who self-pierce, when I ask them why, they generally come up with a couple of different reasons. The first one being, I couldn't afford it. The second one being is that their parents wouldn't let them or what have you. Here's the thing. I hate to say it, but regardless of what age you're at, eventually you'll be 18. You'll be able to do whatever you want. You can go out and mess up your life in any way, shape, or form. Childhood and etc. is a short period of time in your life, meaning that you're going to enjoy those a lot better or a lot more when you're an adult and you can do it on your own and you won't have to worry about it. Or you convince your parents by actually doing the research, thinking things out, and presenting them with a responsible, detailed reason why you want to get pierced and the safety risks, etc., that's involved with it. Think it through and convince them. Don't just go, mom and dad are jerks, and they won't let me do this. Well, convince them to let you do it. It's that simple. As far as the cheapness, here's the deal with that one. If you get pierced by a professional, you're going to get pierced with quality equipment, quality jewelry, in most cases, a reputable piercer. Clean and sterile equipment. Your chance of leaving there with an infection is very thin or very small. The environment's clean because, let's face it, around your house, you don't even want to know what lives on your kitchen countertop or the bathroom floor or the bathroom sink or any of these places. It's going to be a better experience. You're going to have better results, mainly because they know what they're doing and they can see what they're doing. If you do it incorrectly, you've wasted pain, energy, etc. The other thing is you tend to hesitate when you do piercings, which makes them hurt more on yourself anyway. On top of that, there's the added cost of if you get infected, you don't have a piercer you can go to, or you have a problem, you don't have a piercer you can go to and go, hey, this is an issue with this. What do I need to do to fix this? No, you're on your own. Do a Google search. Hope for the best. Probably get misinformation and make things worse. So you don't have that backup plan, that support group. Then the last one, emergency room visits, doctor's visits, medication, and then ended up getting it done professionally anyway. I remember seeing a post years ago where it was like, free piercing cost me $5. Then the next post is, trip to the emergency room, $2,000. And I'm guessing at the numbers. Medication, $75. And it just kept going and going and going and going. And then at the end, getting it re-pierced, $50. So in the long run, you'll probably save money, you'll be happier with the results, and you'll have a better outcome. Thanks for watching. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Thank you for watching. And you might want to check out one of these other videos.